Hi everyone, welcome to Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today's episode's all around workplace essentials. We've all been impacted significantly by COVID-19, no more so than employers, employees, and everyone involved across the whole industrial sector, workplace sector, office sector. So today we're trying to provide you with some tips, advice from experts in the industry around how you can navigate this situation, both for employees, employers, and even how the whole remote working, or the new norm as they call it, is going to impact and how it may look in the future. So we've got a fantastic lineup of guests coming to you on today's episode. We're going to start off with Laura Valente from Randstad. Hi Laura, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Great. Laura, look, I mean, as a recruitment agency and one of the world's biggest, you guys have had to navigate this pretty much at the coalface. How have things changed for you, and what sort of things have you noticed over the last few weeks?
I think probably the biggest thing that we've noticed is how employers are now onboarding new staff into their businesses, having to do it remotely. So we've still been working, still placing people with our clients, but instead of coming into the office and being onboarded, they're having their their laptops couriered to them. They're having to log on remotely and do their onboarding and training that way. I think as time progresses and we get further down the line with what is this new norm, companies are getting more and more on board with this new way of working. Sure.
And I mean, it's been really tough for employers, but especially employees. I mean, we've had these lockdowns which have led to retrenchments and putting people off work and so forth. So, the whole range of things around how do you restructure them and how do you re-gear them up for new opportunities as well in the workforce?
Absolutely. I think I read a report recently that stated that something close to 20% of Australia's workforce is currently either looking for work or have been stood down. So that's 1 in 5 working Australians are looking for work. So not only do we have job short market, but plethora of candidates looking, so lots of competition. So I think really trying to make yourself stand out, look at what your transferable skills are. Obviously the main markets that we've seen affected have been hospitality, tourism, aviation, education as well. How are your skills transferable into other sectors?
That was one of my questions I was going to ask you, Laura. With skills transfer in the logistics supply chain sector, obviously which Trade Australia is pretty much focused on, there are a whole range of growth opportunities with supply chain, and therefore that skills transfer, you may have come out of being a barista who can go into a warehouse and do order picking, or and maybe do all these type of things that they hadn't thought of before, but there could be some growth there. So if I'm an employer wanting to recruit some new staff, because we have seen a growth in e-commerce and logistics, distribution, fulfillment, and I know that I was really impressed with the way you talked about how there's a whole new age of initiatives that you put in place with Randstad, and how companies can help even with their cash flow and so forth. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so certainly I think one of the issues a lot of companies are finding is cash flow issues. So they've got these business critical roles that may be vacant. I think they still have to be filled. Anything that's frontline operational or anything to do with your statutory obligations, they're business critical. Whereas things that are deemed as not business critical, like strategy or anything that's value add, can be put on hold for now. But how do you get that expertise in-house when you've got cash flow issues? So we have definitely seen an increase in interim. So bringing people in on the short term to fill a gap. Normally when you're recruiting through that way, through an agency, you are not having to have any upfront costs. The agency is paying the candidate for their wages, and then you've normally got payment terms from 30 to 60 days, so there's no real upfront cost. And also if you are recruiting somebody permanently, there are payment options for that recruitment fee that you would normally have up front. We've recently signed a few clients to pay their fees using Afterpay. So there's lots of different options. I think still reach out to agencies to discuss what the options are if there are cash flow issues.
I think those are some really great ideas and initiatives that you guys have put in place, because obviously you need more flexibility around the way you're trying to engage with your staff, whether it is contractors or part-time versus full-time, but even that recruitment of a new team member, it'd be great to find the ideal candidate, but then you've got to pay that placement fee. And if you've got that afterpay option, which is it's amazing. I mean, I don't even think about that when you mention that. It's just it's a great way of leveraging some great products in the market for a recruitment solution as well.
That's it.
Yeah. So Laura, where do you see things, moving forward in the future? I mean, what tips can you provide to candidates to stand out, but what also can you provide to employers to say, look, how can you better navigate some of that employee relationship and engagement as well?
Yes, well, I think in regards to tips for people that are looking for work, you've got to make yourself stand out.
Yep.
I think there's a high volume of people applying for roles, so making sure that you've got the buzzwords and the keywords in your CV. I think a lot of companies utilise tech when they're dealing with volume, so they're looking for those keywords, making sure you've got them on your CV and that you're tailoring your CV to the jobs that you're applying for. A lot of people have multiple skill sets and making sure that it's tailored to what you're applying for. There's lots of different ways you can make yourself stand out. But I think it's a very competitive market right now. If you can partner with an agent, such as somebody like myself, where we advocate on your behalf. We've got relationships with the clients already, and we're able to be your advocate. Yeah,
and I think that's a real powerful message what you mentioned there, Laura. Because look, everyone can jump on Seek or go through what opportunities there are, but if you've got someone in your corner who can help fine-tune the way you present yourself and really polish it off, but also from an employer's perspective, you can cut through all, the whole plethora of candidates, which I'm sure there's thousands upon thousands of candidates going for jobs at the moment. Whereas you, as an agency, can actually do all that shortlisting for them, check all that criteria, and then give them the best candidates possible forward.
Absolutely. What's your time worth?
Yeah, that's right.
If you're going to have 250 applications come through, how much time is going to take you to go through those applications? You may not want to have a full recruitment process through agency, but you can outsource any part of the process. Receiving the ad response, providing a short list, are just a few things that you can cut down from the process and outsource. So there's lots of different ways that recruitment agencies can help.
Great. Thanks so much, Laura. It's been really great to have you on the show, and it's such an important part, increasingly going to be so moving forward as companies restructure their whole workforce around this whole situation, the new norm, as they say.
Exactly.
So thanks so much, and look forward to keeping in touch.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Laura. So stick around after the break. We're going to be joined by Kennie Kurniawan from 11th Space, and we're going to talk about a whole new remote working and co-working and the whole new landscape of how offices may look in the future. So we'll see you straight after this break.
You are watching Women in Trade. This show is all about showcasing the important contributions women are making across international trade and supply chain. Each episode, we will be interviewing the world's most influential female leaders and hear about their unique journeys, as well as what advice they'd like to give to inspire the next generation of emerging female talent. As one of the huge range of market-specific shows streaming 24/7 on importexporttv.com, you are now able to stay up to date with every industry, every country, and the latest in global supply chain innovations whenever and wherever you want. Tune in via your laptop, tablet, or even smartphone via the free IETV app. importexporttv.com, the world's only business channel dedicated to international trade and global supply chains.
Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today's episode's all around workplace essentials and how we can provide you some tips and advice from experts on how you can navigate the new working environment post-COVID-19, or while we're in the thick of it, really. Our next guest is Kennie Kurniawan from 11th Space, one of our proud partners of ATLC. Thanks for joining us, Kennie.
Thank you, Lawrence, for having me here today.
Great. Kennie, look, the 11th Space has always been great, but now even more so with people needing to work from home, not wanting to work from home. They need flexible solutions. They need the opportunity to have the best of both worlds. And the 11 Space represents that in so many ways. So tell us a little bit about the 11 Space.
Yeah, so 11 Space, as you mentioned, we're a business hub and a flexible workspace option. So a lot of businesses come to work at our space because they appreciate the Collins Street address and all the facilities that they can get from the space without actually, having to invest in a lot of capex to rent a traditional office. So that's something that we offer to a lot of businesses that work at our space today. Yeah.
And the great thing about the 11 Space, yes, you got flexible, leasing solutions. You don't have to take on a 12-month, 3-year lease, or buy all the furniture and fit out. You guys do everything for them. But it's really powerful as well that you're much more than just a co-working space. You guys are an incubator. So you've got, we're so proud to be part of it because there's so many complementary services who are already housed in 11 Space that you build this amazing support network, a great community that helps your business grow faster than if you were trying to do everything yourself. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, you really got it right there because what we offer is not just a space for people to work from, but also a lot of programs and support that helps small businesses or people who, just starting out their business. That's when they need a lot of help. So we bring in a lot of expertise in building businesses, doing risk mitigation and, financial projections and things like that. And we have a lot of network of mentors from different industries that have a lot of experience. So this is where young people especially come to our space and they participate in the business incubator program to learn more how to actually launch a business and how to keep it sustainable.
And the other good thing is, it's got a buzz about it. It's quite motivational to be in the 11 Space because you are, as you say, around these new entrepreneurs, these startups. Everyone's doing something. They're all excited about things, and you bump into people, not these days because of COVID, but you can talk to people over a coffee, and you can hear about what they're doing, and you get ideas about your own business and how you can improve it constantly. So you get this whole collective growth opportunity that if you're in an office on your own or even with your own team, you're very much blinkered in your business. You forget sometimes what happens in the real world outside of that.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people say that's the biggest thing they see from the space. When you enter the space, you've got this energy of people just like-minded professionals, entrepreneurs, looking to grow themselves, and you can't help but get that vibe, and it keeps you going. And it's so different to actually working from home all the time, which a lot of us have to do right now. But more and more people are looking to spaces like our space to kind of have a hybrid option, I guess, where they can still have remote working from home as a permanent option. It's no longer optional. But they also understand the importance of having an office space, and I've seen a lot of actually articles that talks about this, and some people say, is this the end of the office? But I actually personally don't believe it's the end of the office.
It's a new evolution of the office.
It is, it's definitely going to be changing. It's not going to be like the way it was before, definitely, because of COVID especially. But we know that research has found as well, 75% of people, for example, they don't want to work in the office full time like before. But only 17% actually wants to work from home permanently.
That's right.
So people know that it's somewhere in between. They want to be able to work at home and at the office when they need to, and it's all up to the employers and the employees together to figure out what's the best option and how to work that out.
And that's so many other benefits that you don't even think of at the start. But one of the things that I've thought of through COVID is, if you want to offer flexible start finish times, if you've got your own office, you need to think about security and safety for your staff. From an OH&S point of view, it's very dangerous or sometimes not even legal to have one person in an office. You need to have a secondary person depending on the type of activity you're doing. So the co-working space provides a whole range of flexibility for, as you said, the hybrid solution where you can come in maybe 1 or 2 days a week. You can have the Collins Street postal address, which still looks great to people, to say that yes, our office is in Collins Street. You do all your virtual reception, take the mail, do all the business admin stuff, plus get the benefit of the community. But you've also got the flexibility to say, look, all right, the 6 of our staff will start at 10 a.m. and the rest will start at midday. And because you guys are there as a permanent operation, you've got that flexibility, which is really powerful.
Exactly, and this is what we've been seeing, especially because of COVID. You know, when you know that your workforce, you know, most of them are not going to be, you know, in the office 100% of the time. It doesn't make sense to have an office that have a permanent workspace for everyone, right? So a lot of businesses actually are downsizing. So they want to still have a constant address, you know, all the infrastructure that comes with that, but they also want to save on their expenses month to month as well. So it makes sense to move to a flexible workspace like 11 Space to help on that.
And I think, I mean, what I'd recommend to viewers as well is that companies probably don't know what their new structure is going to look like, but the benefit of having a chat with you now is that they can say, look, Kenny, maybe I'll put 1 or 2 staff in the 11 Space. Let's trial it for 3 to 6 months and see how they feel. Let's see how the business can adapt to that. And then you've got that flexibility. There's no long-term contracts, there's no long-term commitments, but they can get the best of both worlds and give them all those scenarios over the next couple of months. Especially, we know we're going to live with COVID for the next 12, 18 months, maybe even 2 years. So you need to be thinking proactively now, because as these lockdowns roll and things change, you need additional support like you guys are offering at 11 Space.
Yeah, absolutely, because especially, you know, during this time, I think Laura also mentioned before about, you know, cash flow being a huge thing, right? And with flexible workspaces like us, it's month-to-month billing. There's no, you know, lock-in contract, so your money is not stuck in the, you know, being a CAPEX. It's a month-to-month operational expense, and that frees up a lot of your cash flow to do other things that, you know, all the businesses need right now.
That's right. Yeah, fantastic. Look, it's always great to see you again, Kenny, and you know, congratulations on all the stuff you're doing with 11 Space. I know it's much more than a co-working space, and we're really proud to be part of it. And you know, look, I encourage all of you to get in touch with Kenny. All her details will be here on the site for you, and you know, reach out. You've got nothing to lose, and you'll really get a whole range of new options you hadn't thought of for your business. So thanks so much, Kenny. We'll look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you.
So coming up after the break, we're going to speak to Gabriel Edwards from Official Leadership. We're going to talk about the important aspects of mental health and how that's become such an important critical issue, not just for employees and workers, but actually for employers and leaders. So stick around, we'll see you after the break. That's a really important one. So.
Have your products, warehousing or distribution requirements changed in the past 12 to 24 months? There's a reason the world's best companies regularly tender their supply chain services. Professional tender management ensures you're getting the best pricing and solutions available for your business. ATLC delivers customized tender management programs for freight forwarding, warehousing, and distribution services. ATLC's programs deliver real and measurable results by only inviting suitable service providers to compete for your business. Simply tell us about your specific business needs. We design and manage the entire process for you. ATLC goes to market and does all the work. However, you get to make the final independent awarding decisions. Contact us today and we'll help you get the most out of your supply chain partners.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Trade Australia. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Today's episode's all around workplace essentials and how we can support you through talking to experts to navigate this COVID-19 situation, not just now, but into the future as well. Our next guest is an expert in her own right. She is so important to this conversation. Gabriel Edwards from Official Leadership is here to help us understand the importance of support and mental health for leadership and workplace in general. So thanks so much for joining us, Gabriel.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, Lawrence.
Great. Gabriel, look, as I mentioned on the intro just now, what you offer and your role and your passion, I should say, is really important, especially now through the crisis. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this role?
Yes, certainly. Look, I'm an executive wellbeing strategist at Official Leadership. I'm also a trained counsellor, and I've walked also the executive journey in my own career. Focused on organisation development and employee communication and engagement. So all of those pieces come together and have led me to really be focusing on what I see as a real gap in the support for a lot of my clients, and that's in mental health and wellbeing support for our leaders.
Yeah.
And so working with Fisher Leadership, it's really sort of given me an opportunity to work with them to build the programs that are currently missing for leaders in Australia, and that's programs that support mental health and wellbeing.
Yeah.
So that, you know, leaders who are under increasing pressure, the pressure to perform at the highest level, under lots of change, and what a lot of change we're going through at the moment.
Yes, yeah.
You know, there's really no formal support for their mental health and wellbeing, so they can support others.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point you just touched on there, Gabrielle, is that the whole organisation looks to its leaders in times of crisis, and if a leader is inefficient or ineffective, then the whole business suffers, and that the culture diminishes, but also economically it suffers as well. So it should be something that is supported by government, supported by everyone around, to try and encourage leadership support, well-being. And I want to ask you to explain to the viewers, I mean, HR departments are struggling, though many of them, bigger organisations, have got EAP programs, but there is a big difference between EAP, employment assistance programs, for the workers, but as you mentioned, there's a big gap for the leaders itself. So yeah, how do you complement those HR departments and then obviously bolt on so you can work with the leaders themselves?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I really respect the organisations that have EAP services available to all their people, including leaders. It's an essential support for all organisations, I think. So I congratulate organisations with that. But we do know from research that only 3.5% of employees actually tap into those services.
Yeah.
And that's despite the fact that 1 in 5 Australians suffer from a mental illness every year. Now, when we look at the leadership ranks, we're dealing with yet another layer. So leaders are less likely to put up their hand when they need help. So those under the most pressure, with the most responsibilities, are least likely to ask for help. So only 1% of leaders actually tap into that EAP service.
Wow.
Now, it's probably because of some assumptions around it not being, that people on the end of the phone don't understand the context that they work in, or they're not sure of the confidentiality. Despite the fact that it is confidential, it doesn't really address the unique context within which leaders live and work.
Yeah.
And that's where that gap is, and that's where leadership mental health and wellbeing support, where we're providing that service at Fisher Leadership through a number of avenues.
Well, that's amazing, Gabrielle. I mean, one of the things that I've experienced, and I know from talking to other leaders who are business owners and senior executives, is that yes, they see the value in it, and the 1% doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because most people, and I'll probably put my hand up and say, yes, I have to rethink this myself, is that it can be seen as a sign of weakness to put your hand up for help. So that's probably the biggest obstacle.
I see that too, Lawrence. You know, there seems to be this pact that the higher up the tree you go, you know, the less vulnerable you are and the less you can ask for support. But unfortunately, that actually has a knock-on effect on the mental health of whole organisations.
Sure.
So when we have leaders who are aware of the importance of mental health, of how to maintain it, of how to talk about mental illness, we have workplaces that are mentally healthy. And, you know, businesses across Australia are losing $13 billion off the business bottom line due to mental illness.
And that was probably before COVID.
So before COVID. So let's have a look at COVID.
Yeah, wow. So, I mean, this is, we should, and we probably will have to, Gabrielle, do one full episode just on the mental health, because I know we've only got a small window of time on today's discussion, but, you know, what are the type of things that companies should be doing? How can they reach out to you? And obviously you can still do remote support programs, they can still tap into your expertise, even if they've got employers or leaders working remotely, yeah?
Yes, look, at this time we would have said sort of all along, sort of understanding this industry as I do, and you know that I do quite well, I know the unique pressures that your leaders are under. And we talked about sort of previously at conferences and articles I've written, we've talked about sort of maintaining your mental health and well-being, how we can support that. But now with COVID-19, what I would like to say is it is essential to put your hand up and to establish support that you need to regularly check in on your mental health and well-being. And at Fisher Leadership, we provide both a one-to-one service of regular debrief and reflection sessions via Zoom at the moment, so that we can make sure that you're carving out the space to keep yourself mentally well. We're also providing fantastic wraparound holistic program for executive teams. It's evidence-based. We provide wearable technology, psychosocial surveys to ensure that we're tapping into where you're at and what you need, and providing cutting-edge learning and resources as well. But I would say, sort of as a main takeout, don't wait until you're feeling shaky. As a leader in this sector during COVID, you are doing more than what perhaps a lot of us are wired to be able to do. You're dealing with more stress than ever before. Put your hand up and ask for regular one-to-one debrief and reflection to keep yourself afloat so you can look after others.
And look after yourself as well. Yeah, definitely. I think, it is so important, and it's great to know that you're out there and your team's out there to support the leaders, because doing business in any environment's tough, especially international business and global supply chains, different time zones, different logistics and buyers, sellers, cultures to deal with. And then, to put a pandemic on top of that, it's a bit of a, But as I said, Gabrielle, look, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I really need to have another more in-depth chat with you. We look forward to doing that. So hopefully, we'll encourage all of you to reach out to Gabrielle. We'll have all the details there for you, and get in touch. As she said, you've got to do this proactively, preempt it. Don't wait till you're burnt out, because then you just got much further to come back to that. So, we really value your time, Gabrielle, and thanks for being part of the show.
Absolute pleasure, Lawrence. Thank you for the opportunity. And just remember, the oxygen mask principle applies here. Look after yourself so you can look after others. Yeah, great to close on that. Fantastic. Thanks, Gabrielle. Stay safe and well, and look forward to speaking to you soon. If you found today's episode really beneficial and useful, because there's so many great expert advice there from Gabrielle, Kennie and Laura before that. So there's ways that we can all try and navigate this new norm, as they call it, in the workplace. There's ways that there's always good that comes out of a crisis, but look after yourself, as Gabrielle's mentioned. Look at different options, look at flexibility, and engage better with specialists. So specialist recruitment agencies, specialist workplace scenarios, specialist support mechanisms that can really make a massive difference to your own well-being, but to your business and organisation growth as well. So thanks so much for tuning in today. Look forward to seeing you again at our next episode. Take care. Cheers.